We will address all the questions towards the end, Suresh. Yeah, so there was a slight change with the NASSCOM schedule. It is on 3rd November, as per the invite, yeah. Please note that this session would be recorded. Okay, we'll give it 1 more minute and then we can slowly start. I request everyone to switch on their camera, and again, your microphones would be muted. All right, okay. I see some people have already joined. Great. So let's get started. As I mentioned, please have your cameras turned on and microphones muted. My name is Anita Thalalo. I'm sure most of you would know me. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all to the Industry Working Group Kickoff Meet virtual gathering. Today, we are honored to bring together a diverse and accomplished group of individuals from the EdTech sector across India. Before we commence, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. Your presence reflects not only your commitment to the Industry Working Group, but also your dedication to fostering collaboration and innovation in our objective and mission. To ensure a smooth and productive session, let's go over a few housekeeping details. First and foremost, please ensure that your microphone is muted, and when you're not speaking, to minimize the background noise. If you have any technical issues, please try to rejoin the meeting. Okay. All right, so let's have a look at our agenda for today. Okay. Our agenda for today is both exciting and comprehensive. We will start with a team introduction. I'm sure you have already met most of us. We will then take a look at our vision and mission, followed by the overview of the ICID ecosystem that we have established. We will then go through the working group roadmap and the milestones ahead in our journey together. And of course, we'll talk a bit about the verifiable credentials and its importance. And of course, the one and only platform, the ICID, the technology platform which we use to accomplish our mission. And lastly, we will take a sneak peek on what's coming up next on the sessions by NASSCOM, which I'm sure you've already received the invite for. Okay, so be prepared for an insightful presentation followed by a Q&A session at the end. Now, despite the virtual nature of our gathering, I encourage you all to actively participate. And when it comes to the 15-minute slot of Q&A session, you all will be unmuted. So we would request you all to actively participate and don't hesitate to ask questions. Additionally, we have also planned a lot of other stuff in the coming months in our journey to foster more meaningful connections among the members. And yeah, so thank you once again. for being part of this momentous virtual meeting. I'm confident that today's discussion will leave an impact, and we look forward to the insights and ideas that are going to emerge. Okay, so without further delay, let's begin. It is my pleasure to introduce our wonderful team here. We have Varun Dubey. He's the head of the ICID platform. I'm sure most of you would know me. I head the skill credential initiative. We have Hitashi, who's our chief architect of the product. We have Dheeraj Tiwari, who's our senior manager for go-to-market strategies. We have Harshita, who she's our GTM lead. Kalyan is our architect. We have Prachi, our product architect. We have Shruti, our senior architect, and Hari Krishnan, our product strategist. So this is the DICE ID team. I'm sure you've already spoken to some of them during the calls. If not, you will do so in the coming weeks and months. Our vision and mission. Okay, so at Wipro Lab 45, innovation is at the core of what we do. We created Wipro DICE ID, a blockchain-enabled platform designed to issue and verify tamper-proof credentials. Our vision with DICE ID is ambitious and transformative, to be India's largest digital infrastructure for verifiable credentials in the talent industry. DICE ID was conceived with the goal of creating a more trustworthy, inclusive digital society. So we aim here to evangelize a system of skill standardization and certification, which is aligned with the National Skills Qualification Framework, NSQF. Aligning with NSQF ensures that our certifications are, of course, recognized across industries, serving as a benchmark for skills and qualification. And this standardization is very crucial in establishing a common language for skills. Our objective here is not just to issue certificates, which most of you are already doing, right? But our objective here is to have them universally accepted by employers as a concrete proof of an employee's and individual skills and qualification. So this industry recognition is very pivotal for the success of our mission. I'm sure you all know India has a population of over 1.3 billion people, and 50% of that population is below the age of 25. India is expected to have a workforce of over 1 billion by 2050, which will be the largest in the world. And the education sector in India is expected to double in size in the coming years. And yet, there is no easy or standard way yet to validate the courses and certifications that are offered. So this initiative will help us address the challenges around skills and credential verification overall. DICE ID goes beyond credential issuance. We are committed to creating an ecosystem that empowers certified and skilled individuals to leverage their credentials, improve their visibility to employers for recruitment and talent acquisition. So in conclusion, DICE ID is not just a platform, it is a catalyst for change. By facilitating a trustworthy and a standardized credential exchange, we are contributing to the creation of a digital society that values and recognizes skills. So here is an overview of DICE ID ecosystem. As you all know, our ecosystem has three main players. We have the issuer, verifier, and of course, the credential holder. Now, today, we have more than 100 plus members in our ecosystem, and some of you are already onboarded as issuers or verifiers. But at the end, you all can be both issuers and verifiers in the system. And our chief architect will talk a little bit more about that in the later slides. As we embark on this journey together, let's keep in mind the shared goals that unite us, because through collaboration and open dialogue, we have the power to make a change and be the change. So in our ecosystem, as I mentioned, we have 100+ members, which comprises of training and recruitment companies, BGV companies, assessment companies, and employment platforms. This Wipro initiative aims to bring and engage these businesses across the edtech sector, and of course, the government, to evangelize a system of skill standardization and certification, which is aligned with the government framework to be recognized across the industries and accepted by employers as a proof of an individual's skills. Subsequently, making the system of validation of credentials and certification easier, faster, and more reliable with a secure and a trusted way and a method, right? So this would help us to foster standardization, efficiency, and recognition. And the benefit to the credential holder, the individual, the learner, the candidate out there, are immense in the form of saving time, money, and effort, which are currently spent in validating such information, right? And we have brought all of you here together to help us promote skill standardization and the use of decentralized technology. So as members of the working group, you're all the voice of industry to help us influence the policy making and contribute to social impact. So here is a look at all the 100+ members on DICE ID ecosystem. By the way, if you click on our website, the landing page on DICE ID skills, a verifiable skill credential, you would also see the same thing there being updated. So members of the working group, thank you once again for being part of this initiative. The journey we have embarked upon is one that holds the promise of transforming the way we perceive and exchange credentials. So here's the roadmap view ahead with some major milestones that we will achieve together in the next 4 months. Of course, starting with our kickoff meet, which is today. The next milestone that we would have is would be the sessions by NASSCOM team on the NOS framework alignment, the National Occupational Skills Framework, right? And how do we know? So a lot of we will have a sneak peek little later on towards the session, but NASSCOM team will be doing 2 sessions for us on that in order to for you all to understand the basics of the framework and what is required and how to get aligned. So that is an important milestone. Please make sure you all attend that and not miss it. The next major milestone that we have is to finalize the structure of the skill credential schema. So I'm sure most of you who have completed your onboarding with DICE ID platform and who've completed your integration as well, you would already have your credentials to get into and view your schema dashboard. Now we will be finalizing the structure and the elements of the skill credential on that, right? So that is another, those 2 sessions would be done by the DICE ID team. Our next milestone in January will be the work experience credential and defining the right elements for that and what is required to have the work experience letters standardized, right? And finally, in February, we will have our closure meet, and we will publish and implement. And we hope that by then, all of you would have not only completed your integration with Dice ID platform, but you would have started to issue and verify skill credentials accordingly. So this is the roadmap that we have ahead of us for the next 4 months and some of the major milestones that we will achieve together. Now I would like to hand over to our Chief Architect, Hitachi, who will speak about verifiable credentials and its importance in what we do. Hitachi, over to you.
Thank you, Anita. Good morning, everyone. All right. I think you might have heard, about credentials and Dice ID platform from Anita, Harshita, and our team. But we would like to go over these concepts once again. Reinforce them because these form the basis or the rails on which our entire initiative is, right? So it's absolutely important that we all are on the same page, right? So when we talk about credentials, right? So the word credentials means different things for different people depending on where you're coming from, right? Because before I got associated with Dice ID, I used to think credentials is my username and password. But no, it is not as simple as that or as trivial as that, right? So credentials are something which prove who you are or what you are capable of, right? So that's what a credential means in our context, in context of Dice ID platform. And these credentials are important because they are required in our daily life to prove our identity, to prove our eligibility for a variety of things, right? So these could, again, these credentials could be in form of documents, certifications, qualifications, all of it, right? Or in case of identity, it could be your driver's license, it could be your passport, right? So these all are variety of credentials that we keep in our position, and we have to keep producing them as and when required, with different for different purposes, right? So obviously these are important. They need to be furnished on demand, and it is very important that these are reliable, and can be trusted upon, right? So because if there is any doubt about that credential, then we all will face difficulty, accessing that particular service or proving that we are eligible to avail what we are supposed to, right? And so some of the examples that I already gave are, about driver's license and all. Professional certifications is also very important, while uh, proving whether we have the right skills or not, and applying for a job or applying for higher education, etc. Right? And very and uh, one excellent example of how verifiable credentials is being used here nowadays is DigiYatra. I'm not sure how many of you have actually used it, but DigiYatra is also based on verifiable credentials technology, where one part of the credential prove helps you prove your identity, right? And the other part of the credential proves that you are eligible to fly on that particular day, right? So the combination of those two credentials makes your air travel very easy, right? And it has been enabled on many of the airports in India, and so that's how powerful this particular concept is, because it helps in instantly proving what your eligibility for a certain use case, right? And in our context, we since we have started with this skill credentialing ecosystem in India, so the relevant credentials in our for our ecosystem that we all have built together is the skill credentials, obviously, which helps some our end users, customers prove that they have they are skilled in a particular area, and they have cleared an assessment, or they have achieved a certification, right? So second, and the second kind of credential that we are going to target is work experience related credential, right? And third is the academic qualifications, right? Whether somebody has a BE degree or a MTech degree, right? So when all of this comes together, this basically constructs a verifiable profile of a user, right? And that makes verification of that particular, or the or deciding the eligibility of that person very easy and instantaneous, right? So there are a lot of benefits, but what I would like to again emphasize is that credentials is anything that we use to prove our identity and eligibility, right? So with that said, now we'll see how verifiable credentials can help, right? So on the next slide, Shita, you can move on. Yeah. So here, what verifiable credentials solves for us is the challenge of handling the credentials in the current state, right? So right now we have a driver's license in our wallet, or a certificate which is printed out, or there is a PDF which people call as a digital version of the soft copy of the certificate, right? But these are susceptible to damage. They can be tampered with. I can easily Photoshop a particular, certificate, and present it, or use it somewhere, right? So all of these create a huge risk, for the not just for the verifying organization, because they might accept a fake credential, but also for the issuing organization, because their brand is at stake, right? So that is one of the key aspects that need to be handled when somebody has, you know, created a credential and awarded it to an individual, and the other party is going to accept that as a proof, right, of their identity or eligibility. So that is one thing that verifiable credentials will solve, because as I would explain you later, that those are not, it is not possible to tamper those credentials, right? Second is that this verification happens instantaneously, right? So whenever somebody comes up with a profile that I've completed, or I'm skilled in these technologies or these areas, so the way to verify mostly is to hire a background verification company, and they will call or email that particular institute and ask and confirm whether so and so candidate has actually completed the course or not, right? Or certification or not. So here the verification is instantaneous, real time. It is based on the proof which is available on blockchain, right? And that brings me to the third point of the security and integrity of this of verifiable credentials, where we use cryptographic techniques to ensure that the credential that was originally created by the organization who's awarding that certification, it never changes, right? Or it cannot change. If it changes by any chance, the verification will fail, right? So that's what makes it secure, and the integrity is ensured by the fact that the credential and the data that is held in that credential is not going to change. It will remain the same as what was originally issued, right? So that's what is achievable through verifiable credentials. Portability, because the user has control, or has these credentials with them, right? And they can submit it to anybody, any ecosystem participant. So it will be understood, because it is following a standard messaging format and protocol, right? So from that perspective, the readability of that credential is very simple. uh, there is a out of the box availability of uh, you know or the privacy aspects of it are taken care of, because what verifiable credentials also provides is selective disclosure, right? So for example, if a certain credential has to be submitted to to prove that I am above 18 years of age, right? I don't need to submit my date of birth, right? So that is without revealing my date of birth, I can prove that I am above 18 years of age, and it uses the elements of zero knowledge proof, because you are not revealing entire data, only part of the of your credential is used, and that is good enough for the verifying organizations to uh, to know that what you're submitting is valid, and they can allow access to their services, right? So data privacy and trust comes inbuilt as part of this technology. And lastly, the verification process gets simplified, because since verification is instantaneous, right? And these are machine readable credentials. By machine readable, what I mean is that whenever the credentials are verified, and the data that is embedded in the credentials can be used by the verifying organization to integrate with their applications, and they don't have to wait for any processing to complete, right? So I'll give you one example of, let's say somebody is trying to procure a new SIM card, right? So once the SIM card, so for a SIM card to be issued to you, you need to prove that your identity and your eligibility. For example, you are above certain age and you have a valid address, physical address, right? So if those those proof points can be created as a credential. Let's call it as a eKYC credential, right? So that credential can be easily be verified by a telco company, right? And the data, like the address, can be used by the systems to ship the SIM card once the credential has been verified, right? So it simplifies the downstream processing, and makes this data readable and easy to process, right? So that's the importance of using this technology, and that's what Dice ID platform is based on, right? So that's why uh, I've spent time in stressing on the concept of credentials and why they are important, right? So uh, with that said, let's move on to the next part, where we talk about specifically about Dice ID platform, right? So I'm sure many of you would have seen this picture multiple times. So this is basically explaining how Dice ID works, right? And so first of all, Dice ID is a technology platform which helps organizations like yourselves to issue and verify credentials, right? And we already spoke what credentials are. Now, if you look at the picture on the right hand side, right? So this is basically the crux of the platform, where you can see that there are three main and stakeholders involved, right, in this solution. So the first and foremost is the credential holder, the in the middle, right? So this is the user, this is your customer who has completed a training, who has completed an assessment, and is eligible to receive the corresponding credential that proves that they are skilled in a particular area, right? So the way they will get, so they can, and this credential holder can manage their credentials in their identity wallet. So Dice ID mobile app, which is available on Android and Apple app stores, is their identity wallet in which they can manage variety of credentials, right? So, and uh, it is available on their device. They are in control of their credentials, and they can decide what to do with them, whom to share it with, right? But now what we need to understand is that how will they get the credential, right? That's where issuing organizations, which we call as credential issuer, which are organizations like yourselves, can uh, can will play a role. So the credential issuing organization obviously knows something about the credential holder, right? So because that user is your customer and has completed a training or assessment with you, you know who that person is and what course or certification they have completed, right? And on basis of that, you're going to issue a credential that represents that so and so person has completed this training or on so and so date. And there are additional details as to maybe how many marks they have completed, whether it was a what was the duration of the course, whatever metadata is required to further augment that credential or that certification. So all of that is available with the credential issuer in their database, right? So the data of the user and the credential is obviously with the credential issuer and will continue to be there, right? So based on that, the credential is issued and sent securely to the credential holder, right? So the credential holder will typically receive a notification on their email or phone number, which asks them to download the Dice ID app and scan a QR code or click on a deep link if they are on a phone, right? So once they do that, they will receive a credential. And the reason why this has to be notified on their email or phone is because that's what they've used to register themselves with the credential issuing organization, right? So that is how we know that this credential is going to the right person, right? Because they only would have access to their email or phone, right? So once the credential is received by the user, it gets securely stored in their identity wallet, which is the Dice ID app. Right now, what does the credential holder do with this credential? Because there, I mean, there has to be some utility, right? So that's when the verifier aspect comes into picture. So now let's say they want to apply for a job, right? So they approach a recruiting firm or an prospective employer, and they submit their profile, and part of that is obviously skills and other things. So they can use their credentials to submit the proof of their skill, right? Which proves that they're eligible to apply for a job, right? So this is where the proof gets instantly verified, and the verifier does not have to contact the issuer. Nowadays, typically what happens is, as I mentioned earlier, that whenever such a documentary proof is submitted, the verifier needs to contact the issuer organization either directly or indirectly, right? And it is a long drawn process. But here, the 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 validation is instantaneous, right? And that's how the verifier would know whether to accept this particular job application or not, or what whether to shortlist them for the interview process, etc. Right? And behind the scene, what happens is that whenever the credential is being issued, that is on basis of a credential schema, right? And we'll talk about the schema part in the later slides. So that defines the structure of the credential and it gets recorded on blockchain, right? So one very important aspect, and I think many of you have also asked as to where does the data reside, and how it is handled. So let me touch upon that. So the ICE ID blockchain network serves as a registry for all the different type of credentials that can be issued on the DICE ID platform. So, and that only stores the structure of the credential or the metadata of the credential, right? It never stores the private data of the or a confidential data or the actual data associated with with the credential on blockchain, right? So because blockchain is a immutable, you know, ledger on which data gets stored permanently. So here we are not storing any private or confidential information. So there is no risk of leakage or not being able to get rid of the data if required, right? So that doesn't happen, right? And that structure of the credential and the fact, and it also acts as a registry of all the valid issuers and verifiers in the system, right? So as an issuer, whenever you issue a credential, you'll, in technical terms, basically you'll sign the credential with your public key, right? And so that public key is something which will be available on blockchain, which can be later be used to verify the credential, right? So when the verifier would ensure that each and every attribute that is presented as a proof will get verified, the signature is verified, and that's how they then only they will accept the credential, right? Uh, so that's what the blockchain network helps in. And the third thing what that goes on the blockchain network is the revocation uh, registry, right? So while these credentials can be issued, but many a times credentials would have a validity period, right? So they might expire after 6 months or a year. So that's when the credentials can be revoked. And once the credential is revoked, the proof verification will not succeed or will fail for that particular credential, right? So even without issuer informing the verifier that this credential is invalid, because they have already recorded the revocation on on blockchain, right? So that's what the verifier uses to ensure that or use for the verification process, right? So this entire platform is built on industry standards, so which are W3C verifiable credential specifications, right? So that ensures that if there is any other solution out there which is based on these specifications, we are interoperable with them, right? And I've and ultimately it is not about only one issuer and one verifier, right? So here we are creating a trust ecosystem. So that's why all of you are critical parts of of this ecosystem, because by having a diverse group of issuing and verifying organizations like yourselves, we are enhancing the power that is of this platform. We are you know able to bring more value, right, and trust amongst the participants, right? So there could be variety of organizations issuing variety of credentials, skill credentials to start with, work experience credentials, academic credentials, right? And on the verification side, there could be there will be variety of organizations who would rely on this information, to shortlist the candidates, right, and provide them with better opportunities, right? So the DICE ID forms that rail, that technology rail that helps in this credential exchange, right? So that's how DICE ID works, and I'll move on with an example to again reiterate on the workings. So Harshita, if you can move on. So this example is very specific to our ecosystem, right? So we are not talking about any general credential. We are talking about skill credentials, right? So let's say Maya is a learner or a student, or is a user who is enrolled with one of the techs, or training providers like yourselves, and she completes her a course and certification and everything, right? So that's the step number one. Now, the step number two is that as a issuing organization on DICE ID platform, you know that Maya has completed the skill, right? You have the details, she is enrolled with a phone number or an email. She has completed, let's say, generative AI credential on so and so date. She has received so many marks, right? And all of those details. So using those details, a credential will get created, right? And a notification will be sent to her on her email or phone. Maya, once she receives, first of all, obviously she would have access to her email or phone, and once she receives it, she can, use the Dice ID app and get the credentials in her wallet, right? So once she has those credentials, whenever she wants to use those credentials, for say, let's say with a recruiter or an employer, so that's step number three, right? So where she wants to apply for a job. and she wants to prove that she has the relevant skill. For example, if she is applying for a position and let's say to develop the next feature of Chat GPT, she needs to prove that she has this relevant skill of Gen AI, right? So that's when she can use the credentials available in her Dice ID app, and submit those credentials to the recruiter or the employer. That information gets instantly verified because whatever information is required to validate that credential is available on blockchain, right? So we so once that verification is done, and the recruiter would either shortlist her for a candidate for an interview. So there is no the screening time or time involved in contacting the issuing organization. All of that is eliminated or reduced to a great extent, right? So that's how Maya's experience improves. For the edtech trainers, they anyways had to issue a certificate, but now with the credential, they know that their credentials are intact, tamper proof, their brand is protected. For the verifiers, they speed up that entire recruitment cycle, right? And they are that way able to cater to more and more candidates, right, and help them find the placements, right? So this is a example of specifically talking about skill credential issuance and verification, right? So now I'll move to the next slide where I'll show you know how the credential is created, right? So what you see in the middle here is an example of an actual credential, which is available on the Dice ID app, right? So this is so all the attributes that you see, right, like the name of the course, right, the roll number, name of the individual, email, all of that, those are part of that credential. But how did that credential get created, right? So that credential is based on a schema, what we call it as a schema. Now, schema is nothing but the data structure, right, as to what that credential would look like or what should it comprise of. For example, you see around 10 to 11 attributes here, on the mobile screen, right? Name, email. So what will be that attribute? What will be the data type? So that is what the schema is meant for. And once the schema is created and registered on blockchain, then the issuing organizations can start creating credentials and sending it to the credential holder, the end user, right? So now it is very important that we all in this ecosystem follow a standard format, standard set of attributes for the credentials, a common vocabulary, right? Which we all understand that, okay, when these set of attributes are present, it means it is a skill credential, right? Of course, out of those comprehensive set of attributes, not everything will be applicable to all. So those can be optional fields, but there will be certain mandatory fields also. For example, if it is a skill credentials, the date of certification or the skill name or the name or email of that individual, right? So those things obviously cannot be skipped, right? And with this standard skill credential schema, we also have a a placeholder where the actual certificate, right, which we all are used to seeing, is the link to that certificate is also going to be embedded, right? So the cred URL that you see at the very end on the phone screen is the link that represents that certificate, right? So that certificate can have your logo, signature, all of those, right? So it is based on a template, and those who have received a walkthrough of the platform console would know what I'm talking about. Where a certificate template can be registered, any number can be registered, and those can be used to issue the skill credential. Right. So it is important that the schema has those standard attributes which everybody understands and adheres to, right? And once that is used, the same set of attributes with the actual values will be available on the user's device in the Dice ID app, right? Now, coming to the verification side of things, for the verifiers, equivalent of the schema is the verification template, right? So verification template basically represents the set of data that a verifying organization needs to validate, right? For example, if I want to know whether a particular person is skilled in a particular area or technology, I would need certain bare minimum attributes, right? Based on which, if I receive those values, then I would know that okay, this person is claiming to be certified in blockchain, and they actually are, right? And that's how they meet the job requirement or the job description, right? So, so again, the verification template is based on standard attributes, and in our platform, we have enabled a way to create this template based on the schema that was defined by the issuer, right? So that way there is no gap. We are bridging whatever was used as a standardized format for skill credential schema is being used for the verification template, right? And then there are certain advanced, configurations also possible where a verification template can contain more than one or can be based on be more than one schema, right? So that for a candidate, if they have multiple credentials, they will be able to submit it all of them in one shot, right? So those use cases are also possible. But again, the verifier is relying on that standard vocabulary. So there is no confusion or disconnect, right? About what is getting verified, right? Because uh, this verification is based on what is the name of the attribute, who issued that credential, right? So that mapping or that matching is very important, right? So that's why this standardization is important. And of course, another aspect of standardization is that how do we align to the NOS standards and the national skill qualification framework, right? So for organizations who are adhering to that process of NOS and NSQF, so they should also be able to represent the fact that they are aligned to this process, right? And they have issued a skill credential based on that process. So those set of attributes is also something which we would want to capture in the skill credential schema so that it can be verified later on, right? So that's why standardization is important. That's why it is important. The next set of meetings that we are, the working group sessions that we are organizing is important for all of us to arrive at that standard skill credential schema and a verification template based on that, right? So, having said that, I'll now hand over to uh, Anita to cover what's coming next.
Thanks, Hitashi. Thank you for that great overview. Right, so here is a quick sneak peek on what is going to come up next on the National Occupational Standard Framework, which will be done by NASSCOM team. You would have already received the invites for this. There will be 2 sessions. So here, our goal is to support the Government of India's 2025 vision by accelerating the implementation of the existing initiatives and creating a seamless ecosystem of learners, employers, academia, training providers, assessment agencies, and recruiters, right? And as Hitashi mentioned, the alignment with the National Skills Qualification Framework, this is not just a formality, it's a commitment to a universal language of skills. We aim for our certifications not only to be issued, but to be embraced by employers, right, as a credible proof of an individual's capability. So some of the things they'll be covering for us in those sessions is how, the understanding the qualification packs, its applicability, the basics of the NOS framework, right, the processes they have. And of course, what they will be doing a mapping exercise. So before these sessions are done, I will be sending across those documents to you By the way, there is also a link where you can find most of these. I would really encourage you all to. So Hari, from our team, will post that link a little later on this group chat, and we will share it across. But the documents also will be shared prior to the session. I request everyone to go through those so that when the NASCOM team does this session for us, it will be crystal clear and you all can, ask the questions accordingly with regards to your business and how to align your courses to a standard. Of course, what are the competency standards, job standards, organization standards, all of that, right? And yeah, so these sessions are very critical. Please make sure that you attend the same. And if you've not received the invites, we will take a look back at the same and we'll make sure you receive it. Okay. So with that, I'd like to open the floor for any questions you may have. I can see there are already questions being posted on the chat. You're free to post it on the chat, and you can all get. We can unmute you accordingly as well to be able to ask your questions accordingly. Any questions?
Yeah, there's one question regarding the credentials which have been provided by the organization, the issuers. What happens if it is if the credential seeker is a corporate or an employee within the corporate? For example, if Wipro employees go through some trainings, would they be part of a DICE ID to get credentials from an edtech who is providing those trainings?
Yes, of course. So there is no. So if your question was whether if Wipro employees are trained by a particular edtech and credentials are issued to them, whether it can happen through DICE ID platform, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So there is no restriction as to who can get the credential. So as long as they are trained, by the tech, right? So the credential can be issued. It will that credential issuance notification will go to on the registered email ID. It could be Wipro or non-Wipro email,
Yeah, so,
right?
so that is
And
where,
yeah.
right? Today, if
Mhm.
I'm on LinkedIn, I sign up using my personal ID or whatever it is, and that is how you would still claim it to be part of your this one. So there is a clear demarcation between my name at XYZ organization, my name at my personal desk, because I also seek credentials, or I would also seek what do you call any kind of upskilling through my own means. So
Right.
what is the intersection? How is this intersection taken, if at all there is any options for it?
Right. So if you are using multiple emails, right, at different places, right? So in that case, obviously the credential will contain that particular email or phone number that you have used, right? And what we are coming up with is a DICE ID community pass, right? So that community pass is something which will act as a common credential that can be linked to these different type of credentials, right? So that is something which we have already made available. Obviously, the purpose of the community pass is to first promote collaboration between ecosystem participants, right? So very soon you will be receiving the link to the community portal where all of you can join and communicate. But the next step is to issue this community pass to all the end users, all the users. So that will act as a one common credential. Now, again, if one person is using multiple IDs or email IDs, they will have more than one community pass. But we will know that this is being issued by a valid organization within the ecosystem, right? So that acts as their identity proof, and the skill credential will get linked to that community pass, and that combination will be useful later on for verification.
Yeah. One more follow-up question is, say for example, verification of a skill. If say for example I'm from IBM and I took a major course on generative AI, and I've got a credential through Dice ID, but can I seek these credentials beyond IBM as an individual? I'm probably seeking for another job elsewhere. Will the Dice ID program say that this credential is not verifiable because it is only for IBM, or it would still have an capability to verify beyond IBM? I'm just taking
Yeah.
IBM as example.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah,
if
yeah. Understood, understood. Right, right. So yes, same is true for AWS, IBM, Oracle, Microsoft certifications, right? So,
I'm talking about IBM as an organization which has sponsored a training for somebody to go through in Gen AI. Only thing is they would try to seek employment or try to seek validations from another organization, probably CTS. I'm just taking another example.
correct.
Will
Arun,
CTS be able to
absolutely. Absolutely.
verify that?
Arun,
Or
this is Varun. Yeah, absolutely. Your question is, yeah, answer is yes. See, the way it works is, so today in Wipro, we provide generative AI trainings, and we have about 75,000 people who have already been certified. Now, they can take this credential to, say, IBM or Infosys. Obviously, IBM and Infosys need to be in the network to be able to verify that this certificate has been issued by Wipro, and vice versa, right? I mean, as Wipro, we are on the network. So if IBM has issued a training to one of their employees and they are seeking job here in Wipro, I will be able to verify. The only condition here is both IBM and Wipro and others, right? The issuer and the verifier, they need to join this consortium and the network. Only then it becomes interoperable. IBM will, as Hitachi said, technology, the way it is needed is, the way it works is that, Wipro will never know if IBM has verified, right? Because IBM can verify it instantly without the need of the issuer. Today, that process happens through a very complex BGV, background verification checks done by third party, right? This will completely simplify that in the ecosystem, Arun. So your answer in short is yes, absolutely. That's the whole idea. But only condition is the issuer and the verifier need to be on the DICE ID network.
possibly one more question is there, but I'll open it to the others. I'll not choke up the thing.
No problem.
Okay, so this is Suresh from Premier Agile. A very, very similar question. We certify people on behalf of a global certifying body like a Microsoft, or my certifier is somebody called Scrum Alliance based out of the United States. I'm only a trainer on behalf of Scrum Alliance, so I do train people. I enable their links and they write exams, but the credential is actually issued by the global certifying body, the Scrum Alliance, and there are several other bodies like that, right? So what I understand is Scrum Alliance should also be a part of this network, also participate in DICE ID in order to issue the credentials, correct? Because I'm not issuing a credential, say I'm only a trainer organization. I'm certified with them as a trainer, but I don't issue the credential to the student. So what I understand is they have to be part of the program. That's number one. Is my understanding correct?
Right. So that is the
Suresh,
ideal. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Varun.
yeah, that is the ideal situation, Suresh. You're right. Scrum Alliance, the best solution would be for Scrum Alliance to be part of our consortium, our ecosystem. However, if you're ready to take the legal liability of certificate credential, you can become a certified issuer on behalf of Scrum in India and Scrum Alliance in India. And obviously, you will need to take some sort of permission with them. And if there are any fake certificates found on the network, you will be legally liable, as I said, right? So both models are possible. You can be the delegate of the Scrum Alliance in India for issuing these certificates on their behalf, or the best, ideally, Scrum Alliance if they are part of it. Nothing like it.
Sure. Got it. Thank you.
We have a question in the chat which says if a training provider does a corporate training for a company and issues certificate post completion of the training and assessment, how does issuing certificate via DICE ID helpful both for provider as well as for the corporate employees who have undergone the training program?
Okay, so look at it this way. I always quote this as an example. Um, you know, would you get your kids admitted to a school which is neither certified by CBSE or any state board? Right, the probability is very low because you would typically look at, um, uh, um, you know, you will typically look at school where which are affiliated, right? So what I'm trying to arrive at is that eventually this ecosystem of 100, and then as we have not stopped at 100, we will continue to grow this, and we are also bringing in NCVT into the mix. NASCOM is already in the mix, right? This will become the prevailing standard where these courses, the skills acquired by these courses will become verifiable at large and recognized at the industry level in the consortium, right? So that automatically increases the credibility of the courses that you are providing. And as a provider, if your students are able to prove their credentials very quickly and in a standardized way in the ecosystem, which is recognized and by multiple authorities and organizations, the value of the course will go up, right? So that's one big advantage for all the course providers in our ecosystem, right? And that's where everybody is excited about. Now, the second the question was, let's see, I think that was the first
Uh,
part of the question. The second
right.
part of the
How?
question was for the user
Yes.
itself, right? For the
Yes.
credential holder. So for credential holder today, see, look at it this way. When we at Wipro we recruit people, we look at skills at a very helicopter view, right, at 30,000 feet, and we tend to ignore those micro credentials that a person has acquired in their learning journey, right? Using these skills, a person will be able to construct a verifiable CV itself, right? Which will help him establish his skills and his certifications much quicker and will be able to. So, we have recruiters in our consortiums who are working with us to implement something called as verified CV. So, uh, on day one, when your CV lands up at the recruiter's desk or the employer's desk, he is pretty sure that the claims you are making in the CV are validated and verified, right? And this along with the background verification check cycle reduction and everything is a big benefit for the user. Now that's the core business, right? Apart from this, as Hitachi mentioned, we are creating DICE ID Community Pass, which will be an access to all the privileged resources designed and the discounts and the access to exclusive community only resources by all of you to that individual, right? So look at it like a sort of a Times Group pass where he can get super discounts, or Zomato pass where he can get special discounts at different restaurants, right? So this will sort of become his access to special discounts, resources within the ecosystem offered to the community by all of you, right? So there will be many other benefits apart from the core business that we're talking about, where a person can quickly prove his skills and experience and get the right job. Hope that answers.
Thanks, Varun. Thank you. All right. Any more questions?
How about a situation wherein a learner or a seeker would change organizations because it is going through the registered ID? I might be working with worked at an XYZ organization almost 3 jobs ago, probably 2 years or 3 years down the line. How would that credential be verified? Because they might have acquired a skill through that organization.
Yeah, so that is the whole idea, Suresh, right? That was the whole idea of having credentials, right? Today, when I change my job, so I have changed my 3 jobs, for example, in last 18 years and the 20 years of my career. If I need to prove that I had worked on my in Oracle, say 10 years back, I need to submit the documentation, and the BGV companies will go and verify that. Right now, imagine a situation where Oracle had issued me a credential. I could just submit it while joining Wipro, and I could just get instantly verified. Right. This is especially helpful for people who had worked in startups and smaller organizations 10 years back. And many times, what happens is after 10 years, that organization may not even exist to validate that you worked for them, right? So all you have is a piece of paper. But when the BGV agency goes and starts checking for that company and the existence of that company, they will not find it at that address, or that company may not even exist. So these credentials actually simplify scenarios a lot, Suresh. And it is exactly designed for what you said, right? This entire technology is designed for that kind of stuff. So you can have two things, right? You can have a certificate or a credential that is valid for the rest of the life, or you could also have a certificate which is valid for 2 years, and after that it requires a renewal, right? So you can give an auto expiring date into the credentials, and after that, that credential will stop uh, verifying automatically. It'll expire. Both models are possible.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any? Yes.
Yes, there is a follow-up question in continuation to the previous scenario mentioned, where if the learner is using multiple email IDs, will the learner have an option to group all the certificates acquired under email IDs into one account?
So, first of all, there is our entire platform and the technology was designed for privacy first, as Darshi was talking about, right? So we don't have a concept of an account here, right? And that is the reason why we are issuing community pass, where the identity of that person or the profile of that person is in control of that person alone. And it's his wish to share or not. Now, the question is, how do you club these multiple certificates together? Yes. So there are multiple ways of creating a verifiable or a verification template, which where you may need information from multiple credentials that you can combine and present in one shot. For example, if I need to give, and it's an out of the band example, but it gives a very good view of how it works, right? So if I want to give a person a loan or a credit card, so I need few information from that person. So I need the address, I need the identity of a person, his address or her address. I need age proof of that person. I need salary proof of that person, right? Now, all of these could be different credentials in your wallet, correct? This could be totally different. So one is an Aadhaar card, other is maybe your salary slip, third could be something else. Now, when I create a verification template, the verifier who's asking for that information from the user may create the verification template in a way that the user can club multiple data fields from multiple credentials and present as a single credentials, and each of them can be verified whether they have been tampered or not. Right. Once you get into, if you have such advanced use cases, do reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you out there, where you can club multiple credentials into one single presentation and present it to the verifier. So yes, technically it is absolutely possible. It is a current feature in our app. We haven't seen a use case. If you have a use case, yes, absolutely reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you implement it.
Thank you, Varun. There is one question which says, how would the academic qualifications be verified? Sunita, would you like to
I
add?
can I
Okay.
can answer, I can
Thank
answer
you.
that. So not only academic and very qualifications, even all of us have certificates today, right? So one fine day, everything cannot become a credential, correct? Yes. Moving forward, all of you would be kind enough to agree on a standard and follow that standard. So from today onwards, or maybe 1 month down the lane, you all will start issuing credentials. But what about my college degree, my engineering degree? What is about my CBSE 10th certificate? Well, this is what we are trying to do right now with ASCOM. We are working around integration of DigiLocker. So any credential that you have on DigiLocker can be imported as a credential into into the credential into your wallet, right? They can be imported there. So that is one feature that we are working on. So that way, if you have a CBSE 10 certificate that you did in 2003, you will be able to import it. You should have it in your DigiLocker. Most of them have it. If not, you can import it in DigiLocker and then import it into your credential. So that's one way in. The second thing is we are trying to create a marketplace. It's a little bit early, so but I'm giving you an early view of things, and we are happy if you have suggestions or if you want to partner with us on that. Is to create a marketplace of BGV companies. So you could take those in the marketplace. You could pay for those services to those BGV companies who will verify these credentials for you and issue a credential on your wallet, right? And that you can use and moving forward. So that's another way of retrospectively getting all your credentials um, into your wallet, right? Again, it's an ecosystem play. We have BGV companies also participating in this ecosystems as we move forward. We have few and we have others who are in the process of signing up. And those will become. So now if I change my job in my next employer, I will anyways go through the BGV certification. And if I want, I can ask for that company to issue a credential in lieu of that verification. And that's another way of retrospectively getting all your credentials in one place.
Thanks, Varun. Any more questions, Blessed?
Yeah, I think there are a
Yes.
bunch of questions. Yeah.
Yes. Will there be an intersection of NSR and DICE ID?
Nothing planned yet, but if there is a business case and if there is a requirement, and if all of you ask us to do that, NASCOM is right here with us, so not an issue. We are open for that. Absolutely. Right now, we don't have a roadmap for it. But yes, I mean, it's also a fact that it's very early in our journey. But we are more than happy if you have any use case or any need of doing that, please do suggest. I mean, that's the whole idea of having a community to help us guide us how we want to shape this product and the feedback and stuff.
I think there's another one. Can we announce on social media, our website, that we are part of the Wipro DICE ID NASCOM Industry Working Group officially?
Suresh, you can actually do a PR, right? And the way it will work is you do a PR, we will copy it, right? So only thing is we have our PR calendar, so we won't be able to do a PR, right? But yes, absolutely, you can do a PR, and obviously it can be synchronized with our social media handles so that we can give you larger coverage, larger reach. And we want to do that. It's just that we don't want it to be a fish market where we have multiple PRs in a day. We want to, for maximum audience, we want to time it out on a calendar. And given all those logistics, we are more than happy to work with you and help you that. You already have logo usage guidance from us. You can use our logo in the way that we have prescribed. Absolutely, we are all here together.
Yeah, the only thing to be careful about in NASCOM, because Wipro DICE ID is what can be used, but
The guidelines are very clear. NASCOM is not allowed, right? Because of very simple reason that they cannot be seen with one company. They are an association of
Sure.
all companies. But Wipro, yes, you have access.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
All right, great. Any more questions? Anybody else?
Yeah, there is this another entity called Badge Cert. Also issues certain credentials especially when I'm talking about Scrum Alliance and kind of bodies like that. So, should we consider Badge Cert as another platform which is parallel to DICE ID, or is it something smaller, bigger? I'm sure some analysis or study would have been done on those lines. Anything on that?
Yeah. So not only that, I mean, there is True Scholar in India, right? Um, so there are two things. One is there are multiple ways of solving a problem, right? So and our entire IP is built on open protocol, which is published by World Wide Web Consortium, and it's built on Hyperledger open source, right? So software is not our IP, Suresh, or whoever. I think Suresh asked that question, right? So if you have this apprehension that you're getting tied to Wipro or Wipro software, it's all open, built on open standards. It is built using open source. So anybody in this call can download those components from Hyperledger and build this in a day. That is not a big deal. I think the core, the most powerful part of this entire initiative is the community that has come together around it. Right? I think that is very important. Second thing is, it is all designed in a way that it is not a hub and spoke model. So today, whenever you are consuming our services, we are consuming as a SaaS service. But I don't know how many of you know that that is just one of the model. Because it is designed on blockchain, you can actually take production ready containers from us and you can host your own, right? You can host it in your own infrastructure, join our network. You don't have to have any dependency on Wipro infrastructure. It is just that, a lot of companies may not have that level of IT expertise today to do it, right? And hence, we are providing it as a SaaS service for faster consumption of the business benefit. But we are very open. If you want to host the entire stack yourself, it is available free of cost. Just reach out to us. We will provide you all the containers, Docker containers, and you can host it on AWS, your data center, wherever you want, right? You can run your own stack. So again, the point here is I've been very transparent. There are multiple players, um, and our strategy is not to compete with them, but to partner with them because these the intellectual property here is not the software. The intellectual property here is the consortium of all of us coming together and trying to. That's the most powerful uh, uh, goal here. That's what we are trying to look at. So yeah, I mean, we have reached out to TrueScholar. TrueScholar is partnering with us as we speak. So they will actually on boards. They have all the universities already in collaboration with them, and they will bring all of that onto this network. And I'm pretty open for that because suddenly one day I will get all the credentials that have been issued that are getting issued by universities without integrating DigiLocker, right? So it's the power of community that makes a difference here, and not really the IP. Anybody can do anything, you know. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into technology. There are very sharp differences in the technology they are using and what we are using. We are using the W3C standard of verifiable credential data model, which the core benefit that you get out of it is that today to verify that you really don't need the issuer organization to be available online, right? So there is a huge dependency. If you want to verify a Pune University's degree, you need to talk to Pune University. There's no other way you can do that. But on the second other hand, if you look at a currency note of 500 rupees, right? You don't need to run to RBI to verify that. There are a lot of watermarks built into that currency note that you can look at and you can be fairly sure that this is not a fake, right? I think that is the difference here. The verifiable credential by inspecting the cryptographic proof embedded inside the credential itself, you can be 100% sure that it has not been tampered with, right? And that it is issued by Pune University. You don't really need to go and talk. And that is why we are able to do these verifications in real time, right? Instantly, right? And programmatically, right? You can integrate it with your portals, your SAP, and other systems. So that is the core differentiator here.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So we have just 8 minutes left. We also have a poll. We would like to know your feedback. So Hari from our team will be starting a poll. Please submit your answers. Let us know your feedback. And if you have anything additional, you can put it on the chat. We will check that. Let us know not only just about the session, and if there is anything else you'd like us to include in the upcoming sessions, you can put it on the chat. Looking forward to your
Yeah,
responses.
absolutely. I think the point that Anita highlighted here is that this is not about Wipro and Wipro's product, right? It is about the consortium. and all of you are equal stakeholders here. So help us figure out how you want to drive this ecosystem. If you have any ideas around um, uh, doing more than what we are doing with this technology, reach out to us. We are very, very happy to partner with you strategically. If you want to offer any services with us, partner with us, we are very open. Reach out to us. As I said, it's not about Wipro. This entire model is created to put you on the front, and it is something which is owned by you. So do let us know how you feel about it. If you have ideas, do let us know. We'll be more than happy to implement them. And how do you want, whether this session was useful, what else do you want to be covered in these sessions? What are we missing? I think you have a broad sketch of the charter that we have. I would love to work with you on this.
You
Yes.
all are welcome.
No, I
You
think
can,
there's a question. There's a question
yeah,
where they should ask. Yeah, Suresh, we will send out. We'll post that email we have.
Sure.
Right, and we will also post our personal emails, Wipro work emails, so you don't have to go through a support channel. You can also write directly to us. We'll be happy. I mean,
okay.
100 participants is not a big number. We can definitely help you one-on-one.
Sure. That'll be very, very helpful.
I think you all would have my email address in Wipro, so feel free to reach out or write to us. All right, I appreciate your time and engagement today as we explored the innovative world of Dice ID by Wipro Lab 45. So as we embark on this journey to transform the landscape of credential exchange together, I want to leave you all with a few takeaways. So remember, Dice ID is not just a platform, it's a vision, right? And the aspirations that we've set for Dice ID are very bold. And we envision a future where individuals are empowered by their standardized skill credentials, recognized and valued across industries. And through DICE ID, we hope to foster a more dynamic and efficient talent ecosystem. So let's carry this vision with us and be the pioneers in this digital transformation, advocates for standardized credential exchange, and of course, champions for a more skilled and empowered workforce. Thank you all once again for your time and attention. I look forward to the exciting journey ahead and as we work together to make this a cornerstone of a more connected and empowered digital society. May you all carry the spirit of innovation with you, and thanks again. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.